The snow-covered mountains high above Salt Lake City, Utah, the site of the 2002 Winter Olympic Games, and a city currently embroiled in an Olympic scandal that has rocked this community and the sports world. This week, however, the Delta Center plays host to the most prestigious event for non-professionals in the United States as we begin our coverage of the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships. Along with Judy Blumberg and Leslie Visser, I'm Terry Gannon as we get set for the original dance portion of the ice dancing competition. And here are the current standings after the two compulsory dances. Naomi Lang, Peter Chernyshев in the lead over Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates. Those are the two main contending teams for the gold medal. But being pressed right behind them, Kegel and Fedyukov in third place. Now, there are specific requirements in the original dance. The tempo is a waltz. The dancers must move in a constant direction. There must be a step sequence and a free dance type lift, although you're not allowed to have more than two of those.
Let's have a warm welcome now for Deborah Kegel and Oleg Fedyukov.
And the first team to take the ice here as the original dance gets underway, 22-year-old Debbie Kegel and 26-year-old Oleg Fedyukov, and they are in third place.
To really love a woman, to understand her, you gotta know her deep inside.
Have you ever really loved a woman by Bryan Adams? The music they're skating to.
And this is a change that came into being last year. Vocals are allowed in this OD. As they work around the ice in this original dance, you'll notice they work on the periphery. They haven't crossed the end line, the end axis of the ring, until they got to this corner. They can only cross that line at each end and on their footwork sequence, which can either be the diagonal or the circle.
This is their third trip to the U.S. Nationals. They placed sixth the last two seasons.
Terry, they have been plagued with injuries. She has a bad knee. She hurt her shoulder just a year ago. And now they've changed coaches, so lots of new situations. And this is that circular footwork sequence, which is a requirement. Various dance holds. Tango, foxtrot. What they don't want is hand in hand. And a spin is also allowed in the original dance, face to face. Very nice wind up on this end.
In third place after the compulsory dances, looking to not only medal but maybe move up. That's their hopes. They currently would have a bronze medal. They want even more. Debbie Kegel, Oleg Fedyukov.
In this footwork sequence, you can see the variation in their holds. They are not two-footing because they don't want any two-footing except on major moves like lifts or drapes. They break the position just to change the positions, and that's very important. Watch how the feet move. They're very quick. Twizzles by each partner is important because they're looking for difficulty.
Here are the judges' marks for Deborah Kegel and Oleg Fedyukov for composition.
Oleg, by the way, a native of Moscow, not yet a U.S. citizen, although they can skate at the World Championships if they make it there. Now, two sets of marks. The first for composition in the range 5.0 up to 5.3. This original dance worth 30% of the total score. You've got compulsory dances worth 20% and the free dance to come, which is worth 50%. And now the marks for presentation, 5.2 up to 5.5 for Kegel and Fedyukov. We're back to Salt Lake in a moment.
5.4 and 5.5.
ESPN2's coverage of the 1999 State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships is being brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. Welcome back, everyone. Inside the Delta Center is our coverage of the 1999 State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships is underway here in Salt Lake City. Hi again, I'm Terry Gannon. This was to be the marquee event designed to get everyone excited for the Olympics, which will be held here in Salt Lake just 3 years from now. But as you may imagine, much of the focus this week has centered around the ongoing investigation into what has become the biggest scandal in the modern history of the Olympic Games. Just over the past few days, new allegations, new findings concerning the Salt Lake Organizing Committee and payments made to IOC members in order to acquire the Olympics. Be sure we'll keep you updated with the latest developments throughout the weekend here on ESPN2, ESPN, and over on ABC Sports. Meanwhile, there are national title hopes on the line here in the Delta Center. A little bit later, we'll have the Pairs Short program when Dick Button and Peggy Fleming join me. But right now, our attention is focused on the original dance. And we welcome in once again five-time U.S. champion Judy Blumberg. Judy, Punchline and Swallow, the defending champions, no longer here. They've moved on. Plenty of new faces and a lot of change, too.
That's right. The changes mainly in the rules and requirements in this OD. It's a post-Olympic year, and you do have a natural changing of the guard. Experience is on the side of the leaders, Lang and Chernyshев. They are exquisitely and elegantly presented. But behind them, very close, are Shalom and Gates. They are quite different, both stylistically and technically. But what's really odd is that some of these couples have never competed before together, much less at the national championship. And I think it'll be interesting to see who steps up to the plate to surprise us. And it should be hard because you don't know, without experience, how your partner will react to the pressure.
Please welcome Christy Moxley and Tom Gasbeck.
And here is one of the young teams making their first trip to the U.S. Senior Nationals, 17-year-old Christy Moxley and 19-year-old Tom Gasbeck. They skate out of Newark, Delaware.
This team has, Terry, is aggressiveness. They have good edges. They move their dance out. They just don't have the experience at this point. And what you should see on this waltz is a waltz character, that if you were to turn that music off, you would still know that this was a waltz.
Well, they began skating together some 7 years ago, but then broke up for a while. In fact, Christy skated pairs for some time. Got back together. This is their first trip to the Nationals, and they are in 6th place heading into this original dance. They won the Eastern Sectionals to earn the right to get here.
You are allowed to do circular sequences on the pattern as long as you continue in the direction. And this is one of 2 lifts that they are allowed to do in this original dance.
But there is a difference between what they call a big lift or a free dance style lift. That
was a free dance style lift. It was quite a big lift. The others are small dance lifts. They're just lifts up and down. That one had a rotation on it. Another big lift for their end. Oh, an unfortunate fall. That's experience, Terry.
You think the program's over, and all of a sudden, right to the ice. 6th place, trying to move up, Christy Moxley and Tom Gasbeck. She from Newark, Delaware, and he is from Bricktown, New Jersey.
This is one of the major dance lifts. His hands are above his waist. He is not allowed to lift his hands above his head. And this is where they lost a little bit of their focus. He didn't have his balance, and she caught her heel, and they went right down.
Here are the judges' marks for Christy Moxley and Tom Gasbeck for composition. 4.4, 4.5.
Now the first set of marks for composition. 4.4 up to 5.1, fairly wide range.
4.7, 4.5, and 4.7. And their marks for presentation. 4.6.
Now the second set of marks for presentation. You expect those to be a little better?
4.7.
No, they had
5.3,
lapses. They weren't together. That's again experience and time with one another.
And 4.7.
Christy Moxley and Tom Gasbeck. When we come back, the two-time U.S. medalist Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates. They'll take the ice, this time looking to capture gold.
Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates.
They were the junior national champions back in 1995. This their fourth trip to the senior nationals. Twice they have won medals, but this time they want the gold. Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates. And they are currently in second place heading into this original dance.
These two have power. I think the change was good for them emotionally. They were ready for the change to go from Detroit to Texas. Now this is where they cross the long axis of the rink on this lift.
You mentioned a move to Texas. And Yves, originally from Detroit. Matthew, a citizen of Great Britain, doesn't have his U.S. citizenship. In fact, the top three men, the top three spots, not U.S. citizens, although they can go to the World Championships and hope to have their citizenship by the time the Olympics roll around 3 years from now.
Here's one of those required dance lifts. What's nice about Yves and Matthew is they both do the tricks, so it adds a lot of variation to the dance. You'd like to see that, so it's equally balanced. Couples will save that circular or diagonal piece of footwork for the end because it rises with the music. It's an effective way of capturing the audience and the judges.
Yves Shalom, Matthew Gates, and their effort here in the original dance, trying to move up from second place.
As you see even Matthew move around the ice, you can see there's a long axis of the rink. They are not allowed to cross that. This is where the problem lies. There should be a deduction for that crossing at that point. They have a slight bobble in that move, but they do nice repetition to show us again the effectiveness of the move to the waltz. They really have nice power. He easily lifts her. It's quite a different look than they had last year, and I think that's what they were looking for this year in this waltz.
Here are the judges' marks for Yves Shalom and Matthew Gates for composition. 5.4,
So right now it is Kegel and Fedyukov who are in the lead with the first set of marks for composition for Shalom and Gates.
5.3,
in the 4.9 to up to about a 5.5 range for composition.
And their marks for presentation.
And for presentation,
5.6, 5.4,
and that's higher, 5.3 up to 5.7. That allows Shalom and Gates to move ahead of Cagle and Fedyukov, who are in second, Moxley and Gazbek in third place. Much more to come, though, remember, in this original dance, including the leaders after the compulsory dances. They come up a little bit. We'll return to Salt Lake in a moment. Back inside the Delta Center, the original dance continues as 20-year-old Stephanie Woodman and 26-year-old Robert Peel take the ice. They're tied for 7th place. Skating to Piano Man by Billy Joel.
And Terry, this is one of the teams that has never competed together. So this should be quite an experience for them.
Yeah, not just at senior nationals. They have never competed together. This is Stephanie's very first ice dance competition.
A regular crowd shuffles in. There's an old man sitting next to me, making love to his tonic and gin. He says, son, can you play me a memory? I'm not really sure how it goes, but it's sad and it's sweet, and I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes.
Robert Peel is one of those skaters that has had many partners, almost excessive partner switching, so he never gels with his partner or doesn't give himself time to gel. Because you have to spend years moving together and finding that chemistry. As you can see, they move around, they come down the ice in a diagonal pattern, and this is a required footwork sequence with many different holds, twizzles, brackets, turns. What I do question about this program is the choice of music. It doesn't particularly waltz. Yes, it's popular, but I'm not sure it's appropriate for ice dance competition.
Their very first competition together, first time that Stephanie has taken the ice as an ice dancer. Stephanie Woodman and Robert Peel.
As they move into the lift, you'll notice they hit it and they come right out of it. I don't know that they make enough of the moves that they do. Sometimes that takes time to develop. And as they do the laughs lift, it's very similar in shape to the first lift. And I don't think it particularly fits the music. These are things you think about when your ears it.
Here are the judges' marks for Stephanie Woodman and Robert Peel for composition.
And now the marks for composition, 4.1 up to 4.7.
4.2.
Stephanie and Robert. Imagine taking the ice the first time together at the national championships.
I can't imagine. I remember when I did it after 3 months, and it was pressure packed.
And their marks,
and the marks
for presentation.
Judy, for presentation, 4.2 up to 4.9.
Experience really showed. They weren't that much together, and the program was quite simple.
Back with more of the original dance when we return to the Delta Center in Salt Lake.
And 4.8.
Welcome back to Salt Lake City inside the Delta Center. Along with Judy Blumberg and Leslie Visser, I'm Terry Gannon. Here are the standings. Shalom and Gates ahead of Cagle and Fedyukov. Then in third place, Moxley and Gazbek as the original dance continues.
She represents the skating club of Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and he competes for the Peninsula Skating Club in San Jose, California. They'll be skating to music from the score to the motion picture Anastasia. Here are Shannon Simon and Jason Simon.
So 17-year-old Shannon Simon and 19-year-old Jason Simon tied for 7th place after the compulsory dances.
This is Shannon and Jason's first time in senior nationals.
Skated at the Junior Nationals, came in 9th in 97, had to withdraw last year because Jason dislocated his kneecap.
This is where they've crossed the end, crossed the long axis of the rink, and will continue on their direction. That is allowed at each end of the rink. This program suits them. Anastasia, it's very youthful, it's very sweet. It doesn't quite have the sophistication of those on the senior level, though. A lot of crossovers. There's their big lift.
I mentioned earlier, not much depth this year on the senior level, and that jump is such a big one, but on the junior level, there are plenty of young faces who are going to make their way up.
That's right. We have a strong junior team in Bukarik and Silverstein, who are the junior world champions. Also on the novice level, the Youngs from Seattle picked up their first title. You can see the footwork on this circle, relatively simple. That's something they'll need to work on in the next year to move up in standings. What this program could use is a little level change, too. They're going through and they're skating, but there are no really highs or lows. Very nice presentation to Anastasia, but yet simple, and I think that you could tell they weren't quite as refined as, say, Shalom and Gates or Kegel and Petrikov.
The brother-sister team of Shannon and Jason Simon.
As you watch them move, this is one of the more difficult things. She should have kept going in that attitude position. They do twizzles, basically 2 feet, crossovers. Those are the things that the judges want skaters to get away from in this dance event.
Here are the judges' marks for Shannon Simon and Jason Simon for
And now the marks for Shannon and Jason,
4.2,
along with a cast of thousands in the kiss and cry area. For composition, 4.0 up to 4.9. That's definitely a wide range.
It's a wide range, but there's still more couples to skate, and this again is a couple they haven't seen.
And now for presentation,
4.1
up to 4.8. Gaining experience early on their first trip to the Senior Nationals. Shannon Simon and her brother, Jason.
4.5, 4.3, 4.5, and 4.5.
And when we come back, the leaders after the compulsory dances, Naomi Lang and Peter Chernishev. It's their gold medal to win or lose. And here are Naomi Lang and Peter Chernishev, the leaders after the compulsory dances, taking the ice for their original dance. Remember, the free dance still to come, and the gold medal decided then. But this, an important effort.
The Nutcracker Suite by Tchaikovsky, not a common piece for ice dancers, but one that Naomi danced to as a ballet student and just adores. Already they set the scene. They are very elegant. He is so much into his knees. Much more so than, let's say, Shalom and Gates. What they do so nicely also is use the music. They are very lyrical, and their moves are suitable for this waltz.
Shalom Shalom Gates, by the way, the leaders in terms of those that have skated in the original dance, followed by Kegel and Fedyukov. Don't forget the free dance coming your way Saturday afternoon on ABC Sports, along with live coverage of the men's free skate, 4 o'clock Eastern time.
Pretty lift, nice position on her. He moves so nicely throughout. Remember, you can have 4 small lifts and 2 big lifts, and they do quite a few on this circle. Here's one, and here's another. And you can see how he lifted up the foot, because you can't 2-foot all of them. It would be more secure for the lift, but you can't do it on all of the lifts. I find their skating has matured since last year. They've come into their own, especially Naomi, because he's a very strong dancer and a very strong presence on the ice.
Certainly didn't see anything that would change their high standing. The leaders heading into this part of the ice dancing competition, Naomi Lang and Peter Chernyshев.
You can see as they move through this footwork sequence, they use the lifts here. He was on 2 foot on that lift, and as they progress through the sequence, they change them. As they go into the second one, it's a different look, a different shape. Just suits them. They are very much a part of this world scene. Now watch Peter's foot as he lifts into this lift. He 2 foot on the first one, but as he hits the second one, he specifically lifts the foot up. And that's a very important point.
Here are the judges' marks for Naomi Lang and
They train
Peter Chernyshев
just outside of Detroit, along with Igor Spielbahn and Elizabeth Coates, their coaches. But Peter, originally from St. Petersburg, Russia, not yet a U.S. citizen. Marks for composition now, 5.3 up to 5.7.
5.7 and 5.4.
Very strong. It was a difficult dance. It had nice movement, had nice flow. It had the character of a waltz, and that's what you want to see.
And the presentation marks good enough to put them in the lead. Lang and Chernyshев now lead Shalom Gates and Kegel and Fedyukov. We're back to Salt Lake City in a moment.
5.7.
Our coverage of the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships continues Friday on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern. We'll have the men's short program, 2-time national silver medalist Michael Weiss trying to finish on top of the podium for the first time. You'll also see Michelle Kwan go for her 3rd national title in the ladies short program. ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. And Saturday, join ABC Sports at 4 o'clock Eastern and Pacific for the men's final as Weiss tries to capture his first U.S. title. Plus, you'll see free dance performances. And then later on ABC in a special primetime presentation at 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, watch Michelle Kwan in the ladies final along with the pairs free skate. Back in Salt Lake City inside the Delta Center and the current standings. In the original dance, Lang and Chernyshев lead Shalom Gates and Kegel and Fedyukov currently in 3rd place.
Please welcome now Alejandra and Charles Simek.
And here is the team in 4th place after the compulsory dances. The Alejandra and Charles Sinek. And they won the Pacific Coast Sectionals to earn the trip to Salt Lake City. This their 3rd trip to the Senior National Championships.
Loves this music. She had heard it about 6 years ago, but then you weren't allowed to skate to music with vocals. It is by Enya.
Pretty amazing story these two have as well. They've been married for 2.5 years, but they had to give up their career for a while because of financial reasons. But Charles came up with a certain type of tape that goes on your boot, keeps it from scuffing. He is now selling that, and that's financing their skating.
And Terry, I have to tell you, this is the team I have been the most impressed with. Their improvement from last year is major. They move out on their dances. She reminds me a little bit of Maya Usova, the Olympic silver medalist from years ago. But they've really refined their style. They're working with new coaches. And I think it's really helped them. I do think this program could use is, again, a little more level change. Some deep drapes, some big highs. That's missing a little bit. It just keeps going. It's very nice, but it needs those highlights.
Fourth place, trying to move up here in the original dance. Beata Handra and Charles Sinek, the married couple who train in Muncie, New York. But the current leader, Naomi Lang, and that man, Peter Chernychev, trying to hold on to number one and head to the free dance. We're back to Salt Lake City right after this. Now the marks for Beata Handra and Charles Sinek for composition 4.7
and 4.9
up to 5.3, and the second set for presentation
and their marks for presentation
5.0 to 5.4.
5.0,
So they are in fourth place in terms of those that have skated in the original dance.
5.4, 5.3, 5.2, 5.1, and 5.2.
But as the final team is set to take the ice, here are your standings. Naomi Lang, Peter Chernychev in first place over Eve Shalom and Matthew Gates, Kegel, and Fedyukov currently in third place.
University of Delaware Figure Skating Club in Newark, Delaware.
And this is another team that is taking the ice together for the first time, amazingly, at the national championships. Tiffany Hayden, 18 years of age, and John Lee, 22 years old, and they are in fifth place.
This music from La Traviata demands big skating. If you use vocals, they want you to choreograph to both the melody and the lyrics, not just one or the other, and that's the problem sometimes. The time together to develop a very difficult dance. You can't do that with such a short period of time of working together. The steps don't gel, and you really have to make the program move, and you've got to sell it as a waltz.
In fairness, he has been injured much of that time too. He's had herniated discs in his back as late as October of this past season. So he's able to skate through the pain. He used to skate, by the way, with Naomi Lang, who is, of course, now skating with Peter Chernychev and the leaders.
In between the moves, their lines are not clean enough for me. I would like to see nice extension in the legs and the feet, pointed toes, and everything's a little bit sloppy. And she two-footed that twizzle, which is an easy twizzle for Tiffany. She's a good skater. Everything's just a little bit hesitant. Even that last lip was a problem for them.
But only their first effort at the Senior National Championships. In 5th place after the compulsory dances, Tiffany Hayden and John Lee. We'll see what the judges thought of their performance when we come back to the Delta Center here in Salt Lake City.
0.6
Back inside the Delta Center and the marks for Hayden and Lee for composition
And their marks
4.0
for
up to
presentation.
5.2 in their first
4.6,
effort at the Senior
4.3,
National Championships, and for
4.7,
presentation
4.6,
4.3 up to
5.3,
4.9. So Hayden and Lee,
4.3,
it puts them in
4.9,
6th place.
and 4.8.
So here are your standings heading into the free dance, which you can see on ABC Sports Saturday afternoon. Lang and Chernichev ahead of Shalom and Gates, and then Kegel and Fedyukov. They'll fight it out for spots on the podium. Andra and Sinek, Moxley, Gasbeck, then Hayden and Lee, Woodman, Peel, and Simon round out your 8 ice dancing teams. And right now, for the first time, let's go over and join Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Terry, as you know, every year after the Olympics, we see a new generation of skaters, new faces. Well, these are 2 of them. Congratulations so far. Peter, to you, that's such a familiar piece of music. How did you make it new and fresh?
Well, first time we got the idea of taking this music. Actually, it came from our coach, from Igor. He suggested to take this music that he was thinking that it could be very close to our style, sort of romantic style. And then Naomi totally agreed with him. First time she heard it because she liked it a lot. So to me, it was a very familiar piece, and I said, I have nothing against that. Let's try.
I think Tchaikovsky would be pleased. And Naomi, how have you improved over the last year?
I feel like we improved in our strength and our unison together, because this is our 3rd season together, and I feel like we were trying out there to use more expression, because we've been criticized for that before, and we were trying to prove to everyone that we can do this.
Well, so far it shows you can. Congratulations so far. Back to you, Terry.
Leslie, thank you. So it's Naomi Lang and Peter Chernichev who captured the bronze medal a year ago at the National Championships. This time around, though, they will not be satisfied with anything but the gold medal. Remember, you can see the free dance, the finals of the ice dancing competition Saturday afternoon on ABC Sports, along with live coverage of the men's competition at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Once again, let's join Leslie Visser.
Terry, 3 years from the opening ceremony here in Salt Lake, the focus should be on the U.S. Figure Skating Championship, but the Olympic bribery scandal continues to dominate the news. On Tuesday, the Salt Lake Organizing Committee's Board of Ethics released a 300-page document that found disturbing revelations of cash payments, jobs, and scholarships, over $1 million in handouts, which implicated 10 more members of the IOC, bringing the total number involved in improper dealings to more than 1/5 of the entire membership. On Thursday, the Salt Lake Olympic Committee is expected to announce a restructuring of the board with a new policy of accountability. This scandal is far from over. There are still 4 ongoing investigations, including one by the Justice Department, which could unearth criminal activity. Terry?
All right, Leslie, thank you. Up next, the pairs short program, including Kyoko Ina and her new partner, John Zimmerman, Danielle and Steve Hartzell, and Johnny Stiegler, along with his sister, Tiffany. The pairs take the ice when we return to Salt Lake City. Welcome back to Salt Lake City, Utah. The pairs have taken the ice here at the Delta Center, warming up for their short program. And hi again, everyone. I'm Terry Gannon, joined now by Olympic champions Dick Button and Peggy Fleming. And by the way, it's only 31 years to the day since Peggy won her Olympic gold medal in Grenoble, France. Seems like yesterday.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been that many years. It's gone by very fast.
31 years. Anyway, now, we've seen some young faces in the ice dancing competition already. Some familiar names here in the pairs, but a couple of young teams that are looking to move up to that next level.
Well, that's right, Terry. But one of the crucial elements in pair skating is chemistry, and that sometimes takes years to develop. It helps if you're married like many of the Russian couples, or if you're brother and sister like two of our top pair teams here. Tiffany and Johnny Stiegler have had a magical chemistry with the audience since they were little kids. And this year, they've matured and lost none of that spark. The other brother and sister team, Danielle and Steve Hartzell, have always been strong technically, but have struggled to really connect with an audience. And this year's short program is finally moving them in the right direction. And Dick, Kyoko Ina has won this event in the past years with her partner Jason Dungeon. And she's back here this year with a new partner of only 8 months, John Zimmerman.
Well, look, if you really want to understand this event, it's sort of like understanding a plate of spaghetti. You got to keep all the strands clear. In the first place, Kyoko Ina dumped Jason Dungeon, who is here not as a competitor, but as a coach of Hartzell and Hartzell. They're competing against Kyoko Ina and John Zimmerman. But remember, John Zimmerman used to skate with Stephanie Stiegler, who is the older sister of Johnny and Tiffany Stiegler. Now, they are coached by none other than Irina Rodnina, the great Russian pair skating champion, who used to compete against Tamara Moskvina, the other great Russian pair skating champion and coach, who is coaching none other than Kyoko Ina and John Zimmerman. And don't ask me to repeat that.
Is this the pairs event or all my children? It makes you wonder at times. There is Kyoko Ina. She and John Zimmerman, the favorites here in the pairs competition. And we take a look right now at the 8 required elements in the short program. A failure to complete any one of these elements and points are deducted. And by the way, it accounts for 1/3 of the total score.
Please welcome Tiffany Spikas and Bert Cording.
And taking the ice first, Tiffany Ann Spikas and Bert Cording. They have only been together some 6 months now. They came in second at the Eastern Regionals. That's how they earned a spot here in Salt Lake City.
The music from Speed and American Flyers. Motion picture.
And music plays a big part in a performance for a skater. It sets the tone of a program, gets the excitement of the audience and the judges' attention. Coming up, a very difficult throw, triple loop, back outside.
Good, good, and he likes it too.
Well, we should point out, too, that they have defeated Ina and Zimmerman this year. They came in 4th at Skate America, and that was 1 place ahead of Ina and Zimmerman. Now the first set of marks for required elements.
And they look very, very strong.
5.7, 5.5.
There they are with their full set coaching staff, Johnny Johns, Mitch Moyer, and up in the back, Jason Dungeon on the right of your screen.
And now the second set, Dick, for presentation in the 5.4 to 5.8 range, and those are good enough to put them ahead of Ina and Zimmerman at this point.
Very strong, very powerful. I hope they continue because they're on the right track.
5.5 and 5.
Nothing but smiles all around in the Hartzell and Hartzell camp. Getting ready to take the ice next, Tiffany and Johnny Stiegler. They've moved out to major senior competition this season and taken major steps in their skating.
This is our first year on the Senior Grand Prix, and it was a good experience for us. And we did Nations Cup, and we came out 3rd place there, and we weren't expecting that at all. And we were up on the podium with some really, top world level teams, and I think we learned a lot from that, and I think we've taken another step up even from that competition. And I think this next year is going to be very exciting for us because now we have a little bit of experience, and our feet, we've gotten our feet wet a little bit for the senior competition.
Tiffany Stiegler and Johnny Stiegler.
Welcome back to Salt Lake City, along with Peggy Fleming, Dick Button, and Leslie Visser. I'm Terry Gannon. The pair short program continues now with 15-year-old Tiffany Stiegler and her 16-year-old brother, Johnny, from Manhattan Beach, California, 4th at last year's national championships and 4th at the recent junior world championships.
And they, too, are using the music Don Quixote.
And they have such flair and personality.
Oh, wow. Now That should not cost them a great deal. It wasn't on a fall of one of the elements. It was a simple trip. It did not influence the rest of the program. And look at that gorgeous, gorgeous throw jump. That was brilliant. Did you see her legs, how tight they were?
Now they're side-by-side triple toe loops. Oh, and he had problems with that, but she did a fine one.
Now that will hurt them because that's a missed element. But wasn't that a wonderful throw jump?
It was, after that tough beginning. Good spring to that double twist. She knows how to sell this choreography.
Tiffany showing no signs of a sprained ankle she suffered at the Junior Worlds in Zagreb.
Good position on his part.
And look at their unison.
They're working with Irina Rodnina and Elena Cherkaskaya, both who understand this kind of music, the way this pair fits into it. Good positioning, very nice. Oh, they're wonderful. Back inside death spiral. Look at the arch of her back as she goes into it. She does not push up her fanny the way so many of the European pair skaters do. A very nice position.
This is where I see a lot of improvement too. This pair spin. Watch the transitions, nice and smooth. They keep the speed going. And this final position, beautiful. Nice extension. And this final move, the jump. And just sailing off. No real final ending. Very inventive.
Well, they've been junior national champions, novice national champions, and may well be on their way to standing on the podium, which they have not yet done at the senior championships. Tiffany and Johnny Stiegler.
Now, watching this opening steps right here, he trips. Now, that is a pure stumble. It really doesn't affect the choreography or the timing of the program, and he gets right back into it with this brilliant move. And look at her legs in the air, the way she was straight, tight, and in perfect position. I haven't seen a better one.
And this was her side-by-side triple toes. He had trouble with it, did not complete the revolutions. She did a beautiful one, though.
And, of course, that will cost them some points. But look at this. Now, watch her entire full line right there. If you can stop it, we'll see that entire lovely line. That's really beautiful. Now, watch her as she extends in it. Her back remains high. She does not force her fanny up into the air, as happens so many times in European pair skating and other pair skating. Look at the position there. Really first rate. That fall, unfortunately, or that miss on his part in the triple toe will cost them some points. Otherwise, they were just beautiful.
They were.
The judges' marks for Tiffany Stiegler and Johnny Stiegler for required
Unfortunately, no matter
elements.
what happens this week, they cannot go to the
5.1,
World Championships. Tiffany just
4.9,
turned 15 years of age.
5.0,
But now the first set of marks for required elements, 4.9 up to 5.2.
Yes, and that's the suffering of the one missed element, the required deduction. In this part of the competition, you cannot escape if you make a mistake on one of the 8 elements.
And presentation marks higher, but not high enough. The Stieglers right now in third place behind Ina and Zimmerman, who are in second, and the leaders are Hartzell and Hartzell.
Angeles Figure Skating
So
Club
as the
in
pairs short
Burbank,
program
California.
continues here
And
inside
he,
the Delta
Lakewood
Center,
Women's
Hartzell
Club
and
in Tacoma,
Hartzell. The
Washington.
pairs team that leads
Skating
right
to
now
a
over
jazz
Ina and
selection
Zimmerman
titled
and
Limehouse
Stiegler. And
Blues.
Stiegler,
Let's
the
have a
other
warm
brother-sister
welcome
team,
for
in
Natalie
third place.
Vlandis and James
But taking the ice right
Peterson.
now, Natalie Vlandis and James Peterson, a brand new pair. They've only been together since August of this past season.
The music, Limehouse Blues.
They're opening with a double twist. Nice height, not extreme. Nice throw, triple loop. Good controlled landing, nice speed on the landing. And now they're side by side, triple toe loops. Oh, triple loops.
Look at how well she joined back into the choreography of the program without missing a beat. She just skated forward, hit it on the beat, and took off. One of the important things in considering how falls affect the program is how quickly you can get up and continue on in the course of the program. Some falls allow you just to remain on your back, sliding in the most uncompromising position, the most awkward positions.
But that's where good training habits come into play. If you train and practice doing your routine, if you fall, you get up as quickly as you can and keep going.
Well, if you fall on your back and you're on your shoulders with your feet high up in the air, spinning across the ice, I don't care how much you practice, you're in trouble getting back into the
Those are
program.
very difficult.
As if either of you ever fell.
Yeah, right.
By the way, on a personal level, I find this music very difficult to comprehend as a music for this pair skating couple. And if they've only been skating a short period of time, these kind of steps are exceedingly difficult to do with great unison.
And here's their back inside death spiral. She has a very nice position too, good stretch. Very busy number.
Very busy music.
Yes.
Sort of hard to comment on that pair.
Yeah, it's hard to get into that number. That the music was very distracting.
Well, they were both at Nationals a year ago, but with different partners. And she, by the way, is only 16 years of age. Natalie Vlandis and James Peterson.
And here is their throw triple loop that she did so well. Nice turning in the air. Real nice speed on the landing and good control. But then they had a disaster on the side-by-side triple loops. There's the back outside takeoff. She didn't complete the revolution.
And
I
he only
think he
did
just
a
did a double.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's a disaster.
And here are the judges' marks for Natalie Vlandis and James Peterson for required elements.
And there they are with their coach, Peter Oppegaard. They trained, by the way, in Lake Arrowhead, California, same place as Michelle Kwan.
4.3.
First set of marks, 4.3 to 4.6.
4.5, 4.3.
Also at Ice Castle, also some of the other pairs, that trained with Irina Rodnina.
5.2,
there.
5.1.
Presentation marks now, Dick.
4.8,
A little bit higher, but 4.5 up to 5.2. And so Vlandis and Peterson in fourth place, right behind the Stieglers.
Representing the University of Delaware Figure Skating Club in Newark, Delaware, and skating to Charles Granaude's Dance of Perm, Please welcome Laura Handy and J. Paul Benabos.
And here are 18-year-old Laura Handy and 21-year-old J. Paul Benabos in their second national championship on the senior level. They finished in 6th place a year ago. It was also a year in which they captured the silver medal at the Junior World Championships.
As they skate this program, watch how she reaches back and toe picks. She doesn't. And therein lies some of their problems that they've been having in practice, at least. This will be a throw jump.
Triple Salchow. Good height and spring.
Straight legs.
Yes.
Very nice. The landing was a little difficult. Now watch again. Watch her reach back here. See, she doesn't.
But they completed them okay.
Yes, but that's not going to stand her in good stead in the long run. There was no stretch or real lift in that. It didn't sink.
There's a very smooth quality about this pair team. They have good energy.
They're very well matched. If they can continue this and develop it, I mean, when you stop to realize that they have not been skating together for that long. Now you see she's sinking in the leg a little bit,
right,
which makes it not quite as attractive as some of the others.
She didn't make it look very easy. It looked very difficult. The idea in skating is to make it look easy and effortless.
Crowd certainly liked it.
A very strong performance for Laura Handy and Paul Benabos. You know, they're really a very fine young couple. They're well matched. They're attractive on the ice. I think they have a great deal of potential as future champions. Now, look at this back inside Death Spiral. Watch her bend. See how she sort of sits down into it with her fanny sticking out. That was the point that I raised that was absent from, for example, the Stieglers back inside Death Spiral. Now watch here. Watch her reach back. She doesn't. See the foot bends? I'm sorry, a little bit further. A little bit further. Right there. You see that? Right in that spot there, she should be reaching much further back, or back to there. Almost like a pole vault. She didn't, and that is not going to stand her in good stead eventually.
And now the judges' marks, as they left the ice, if the audience marks counted, they would have had very high ones. Here the first set, required elements, 5.1 to 5.8, a wide range.
And those are very nice marks.
And their marks for presentation.
And now the marks for presentation.
5.4.
5.1 to 5.4, and that's good enough to jump the Stieglers. They are now in 3rd place. Handy and Benabos right behind Hartzell and Hartzell, Ina and Zimmerman.
5.1.
Okay, half done.
Yep, good.
Hit. Well, here you guys. Congratulations.
Coverage of the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships continues now in Salt Lake City. The pair short program, here are your standings. Danielle and Steve Hartzell in the lead over Kyoko Ina and John Zimmerman. And then Handy and Benabos in 3rd place ahead of the Stieglers. And here are Tiffany Scott and Philip Dulabon. She is 21 years of age, and he is 26 years old.
The music, Moon Dance by White Horse. Lasso lift. Now watch this. Turning dismount.
And now they're side by side, triple toes. Coming up next.
The viewer who's just turned in, this doesn't mean that they have 3 toes, but 3 revolutions in this toe jump. She missed.
He did it nicely.
Unfortunately, that will not stand them in good stead. Mandatory markdown of at least 4 to 5 tenths of a point.
Remember, there are 8 required elements in this short program, and it's worth 1/3 of the total score.
And now this throw, triple Salchow taking off from her back inside edge. Oh,
she never
and
did.
she caught that edge.
Never got off the ice. They've had 2 of their 8 elements now end up in disaster. That's going to really push them down into the cellar.
In these positions, not stretched enough, the spins are not fast enough, and the transitions are a little rough.
Final move, this back death spiral. She has a nice turned over arch position. That descent into the death spiral is the hardest part of that entire element.
And coming out of it, you have to put just the same amount of energy into the entrance and the element and the exit.
Well, they won a bronze medal at the Junior National Championships in 1997. This is their debut on the senior level. Tiffany Scott and Philip Dulabon. Back to Salt Lake City in a moment.
They were kind of duds.
Now watch her in this side-by-side triple toe loop. Watch the lean of her body, the direction that she goes in. Right there, you can see she is out this way, where he is in the correct position this way. And you cannot land a jump when you're falling in, when you're leaning in that position. And this was the problem they had in the throw. Watch her right foot, right there. It just skidded right out. She caught an edge. She missed the whole point, and that's disaster. The fact that she landed upright is to her credit.
4.1,
even without any revolution.
4.5, 4.3.
Tiffany Scott and Philip Dulabon. Now the first set of marks, required elements, 3.9 to 4.5.
4.6,
and obviously
5.2,
not as high
5.2,
as they were hoping for. The blank stares on their faces. The second set for presentation, 4.5 up to 5.2 for Scott and Dulabon.
They represent the Detroit Skating Club in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, and they'll be skating to an excerpt from the score to Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet. Let's have a warm welcome now for Larissa Spielberg and Craig Boudin-Joe Wright.
Here are the bronze medalists from the 1998 Junior National Championships, 18-year-old Larissa Spielberg and 20-year-old Craig Joe Wright. And they skate in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, and one of their coaches, Jason Dungeon, who you saw earlier coaching the Hartzels.
music, Romeo and Juliet.
And here they're doing side-by-side double axels. A little less difficult than the side-by-side triples. She obviously had trouble on her. She didn't get that lift in the air to complete the revolutions. Nice double twist.
There's a speed and an excitement about this pair. I think the music helps it tremendously. They certainly have strength.
Larissa in the summer of '96 started pair skating, and she passed 4 junior pair tests in 10 days. So she's really new at this whole pair skating scene.
But got used to the pressure in a hurry.
Yes.
Difficult to keep the revolutions of the spins working simultaneously. They did that very nicely. That spiral, you see how she dropped into it without again wrinkling her body? That was a very nice stretch in that.
Well, they had some nice moments. I like them.
Well, you know, anybody that skates to Romeo and Juliet has a leg up in my book. I think that music is so inspiring and so wonderful that I find it very dramatic for skating.
And this is the throw triple Salchow, where she ended up falling, but she was good in the air and just kind of gave up on the landing. She probably could have muscled that out with maybe more experience.
Now watch this back inside death spiral. As she sinks into it right there, she is holding the arch of the back. It's not an A1 position, but it's awfully good in the fact that she doesn't break it.
And now, here are
quite a little bit different here when she right there breaks the arch in getting out of it.
For required elements.
Now the 2 sets of marks.
4.1.
The first one, 3.6 to 4.3. You see the trio behind, Johnny Johns, Mitch Moyer, and Jason Dungin.
3.6 and 3.7.
Well, again, that's a young pair with a great deal of potential. I must say that underneath it all, I like them very much.
And the marks for presentation, 4.2 to 5.0, a wide range there. The judges not quite knowing what to make of them. Larissa Spielberg and Craig Joe Wright.
Okay.
She represents the Atlanta Figure Skating Club in Alpharetta, Georgia, and he competes on behalf of the Los Angeles Figure Skating Club in Burbank, California. They'll be skating to highlights from the soundtrack to the motion picture Mask of Zorro. Please welcome now Trisha Hayes and Richard Gillum.
And here are 19-year-old Trisha Poe Hayes and 31-year-old Richard Gillum.
The music, The Mask of Zorro. And incidentally, they work with Jill Watson, America's bronze medal pair skating champion at the Olympics, with none other than Peter Oppegaard, who is coaching so many of the teams here too.
Good spring in that double twist. Very light in the air. their side-by-side double axles. Not as difficult as the triples. Oh, she had trouble.
Actually, he had some trouble too with landing not perfect in flow.
Richard Gillum certainly didn't take the normal route to the national championships.
You know, I think it's worth explaining that the landing on those throw lifts is extremely tenuous. You're on only an 1/8 of an inch blade. The guy lifts you, throws you in the air. You've got to do revolutions. You're going at one heck of a clip down the ice, and you're landing on that skinny little blade there. It ain't easy, let me tell you.
No, and she's having trouble on her camel spin. They're way out of sync.
Well, she's had trouble all the way along through this program, including the last move before that.
Well, 31 years of age, Richard, one of the oldest competitors here. He spent 8 years in the Marine Corps out at Camp Pendleton in California. Tricia was skating singles, heard that he was looking for a partner, and they teamed up. He told us he's got a fractured foot coming into these national championships. It's kept him off the ice some.
That's where the Marine Corps training, I think, is coming in for, you know, big tough.
It may be.
Nicely choreographed number. Good music.
Yes, they did it themselves.
Well, he told us he wants to point not only towards 2002, but 2006. He'll be 38 years of age at that point. Tricia Hayes and Richard Gillum. ESPN2's coverage of the 1999 State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. Welcome back as the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships continue here in Salt Lake City. Tricia Hayes, Richard Gillum, and their marks, 3.0 to 3.9 for required elements.
4.4.
And now the second set for presentation, 4.0 to 4.6.
4.3 and 4.1.
This will look like move a lot up in the air.
She competes on behalf of the
So the
Baltimore
final
Skating
pair
Club
takes
of
the ice
Colorado
here in the
Springs,
short
Colorado.
program, and here are
And
your
he
standings.
represents the Los
Danielle and
Angeles
Steve
Figure
Hartzell
Skating
in the
Club
lead
in
over
Burbank,
Kyoko Ina and
California.
John Zimmerman.
A warm welcome,
Handy
please,
and
for
Binnebos
Amanda
just ahead
Magarian and
of
Jared
Tiffany and
Guzman.
Johnny Stiegler. And here are 14-year-old Amanda Magarian and 17-year-old Jared Guzman. They've only been together since July of this past year. This is their first major competition together as a team.
Nice positions to start with.
Their styles seem to be matched very well. Good unison on these pair spins.
That's nice. Of course, the real test comes right here on the side-by-side jumps. They're planning triple Salchows. She blew it out, and he did too. What a shame.
I've been watching him practice this past week, and he's been doing very well in the practices. She's been having trouble on that particular jump.
For those history buffs in the world of skating, his mother was Jenny Walsh, a wonderful competitor and performer. She placed third in the United States National Championships in 1967 behind, who was it that won that year? Peggy somebody, Peggy Fleming. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
That Peggy woman won a few national championships, I think.
here.
5 in all. Go ahead, Dick. Tell us how many you won.
I never won any of the ladies' championships.
Only 7 of the men.
It's the one event I didn't compete in.
That looked nice and smooth. Nice double twist.
They have a very strong look to their skating. And look at the entrance here. She is sticking that fanny up a little bit. This is a move which seems to zero in on the fanny. They have a very strong quality to them.
It's beautiful body line and energy to their skating.
Yeah, they're nice.
I can see a lot of potential.
Can't you also see the influence of Jared's mother, Jenny Walsh?
Yes, she had quite a charisma with the audience.
And a flair.
She really did.
And he does too. Nice looking couple. You know, they skate well, they're well matched. Now, these side-by-side triple Salchows were disaster on both their parts. He even worse than she. She kind of fell out of it. He fell all over the ice. That's a disastrous quality.
4.6, 4.3, 4.6.
Jared has been here before. His former partner, Natalie Blandis. They've competed on the senior level. She's in 5th place right now with a new partner, James Peterson. But the marks from Megarian and Guzman, required elements, 3.6 up to 4.6.
Well, and that's a problem.
5.1.
You know, they just can't make those mistakes and expect to perform at place well.
Their coach, Peter Gordon, alongside. The presentation, another wide range, 4.2 up to 5.1. And that puts them in 7th place overall.
I must say I like them.
This concludes the championship pair short.
But it's Danielle and Steve Hartzell who are the leaders, just ahead of Ina and Zimmerman. They've got some work to do going for the gold. Handy and Binabos in 3rd ahead of the Stieglers. And on down the line, Megarian and Guzman ahead of Spielberg and Joe Wright heading into the free skate. Right now the leaders have joined Leslie Visser. Leslie?
Terry, it's been a big year for these two. For Danielle, probably better than the senior prom. Danielle, you looked so confident out there. What have you two worked on?
Basically this year we've worked a lot on just our skating and relating to one another, and we've trained extra hard, so I think our confidence comes from being so trained.
Well, it shows. And for you, it's so unusual for a guy, Steve, to have a grab in the spiral sequence. How hard do you have to work on that?
Well, it was just one of those things I just kind of came across. I worked really hard on my stretching and flexibility for the past couple of years, and this is something I've been able to do.
Well, very impressive so far. Congratulations. Back to you, Terry.
All right, Leslie, and a reminder, our coverage of the State Farm U.S. Figure Skating Championships continues tomorrow night on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern Time with the men's and ladies' short programs. Then over on ABC Sports Saturday afternoon, beginning at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, the free dance and live coverage of the men's free skate. And in prime time, Saturday night, beginning at 9 o'clock Eastern, the pairs free skate, as well as live coverage of the ladies free skate. Next up on ESPN2, NHL Tonight. For Dick Button, Peggy Fleming, Judy Blumberg, and Leslie Visser, I'm Terry Gannon. So long from Salt Lake City. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network. Go.